Hey guys, so tonight I'm going to be talking about the Nikon D200 and what settings I'm using, and give you some tricks and tips on how to use this camera at night. So let me talk about this. It's a great camera for being so old. It's only 10.2 megapixels, but it is still an awesome camera for taking pictures, especially when you use a lens like the 24mm 2.8D. I'm using an ISO of 800. Now you're gonna be like, whoa, 800 for such an old camera. And honestly, since this is a CCD image sensor, it actually does a pretty good job. Yes, it is a little bit noisy, but I'm gonna get rid of the noise in post, and I'll show you how to do that as well. I'm using an f-stop of f4, and basically using manual mode. I'm not using aperture priority whatsoever. I'm just adjusting my shutter speed accordingly, just basically overexposing it and underexposing it where I need to. So I'm just going around at night in San Diego County, just kind of, driving around, trying to find some really cool pictures. The best photos to get nighttime pictures with this are well lit buildings, subjects, anything you can have a lot of light on. If you have to, you can bring a light with you. There's really cheap portable lights that they have on Amazon now, or even online anywhere that you buy, that you can bring with you to light up your subject. So that's really cool. I'll leave a link in the description for that. But just overall, just find some really cool places. Like for instance, there's this one right here. This one is just really well lit, and you can really get some cool pictures because you're using a fast lens. It makes all the difference when you're using a fast lens at night, of course. And you can also play around with it and maybe even do use a ProMist filter or anything like that, which I did bring. So I might try some with that. But we'll see. We're just out playing around with it. But my settings are just using RAW. I got JPEG RAW on just in case I like some of the JPEGs. I don't typically use JPEGs because you can't edit them very well. RAW are very flexible. You can adjust a lot of those. For my white balance, hold on, I have to see. I didn't actually check this. Oh yeah. Okay, so my white balance is actually very weird on my Nikon D200. I don't typically like my white balance on this camera. I feel like it's kind of messed up on my version. But I have it set to 4200. Now you're gonna be like, what the heck, 4200? That's because for some reason my image sensor comes out a little bit yellow, and it typically makes everything really yellow. Even when I change the white balance all the way to the bluest setting, it's still got a yellow tint. So I don't know what's wrong with it. There's something wrong with the camera, I think, but I still can get great images with it and play around with it accordingly, because I take it into post and just crank up the blue white balance part of it if I can. Just play around with it for me. It may not be that way for your camera, for your Nikon D200, but for me it's a little bit weird. Anyway, yeah, just find some really cool well-lit subjects like this one. Let's see if I can turn it. There you go. And it's just fun. Just play around with it, have fun with it, look for angles, look for anything that you might be able to get a really cool, unique picture with. Look for neon signs, look for cool buildings. Usually this time of night, it's great to find subjects because there aren't a lot of cars. Now, I am trying my very best to be safe. That's one thing you also have to do. Make sure you're in a safe place. Don't go into any dark corners. Don't find yourself in a place where you're going to be sorry, because yes, there are creepy people out, and you have to just keep your eye on your surroundings and not so much into your viewfinder. That's very important when you're doing nighttime photography. But just have fun with it too. Bring a person with you, I would say, if you can. because then you'll feel even more comfortable and feel like you can actually take more photos, okay? So I'm gonna take some pictures with the Nikon D200 of the San Diego airport of the landing strip. This should be pretty cool. You can't see me too well. Here comes a plane. Right here. Pretty cool stuff. Let's see if I can get anything. 6 seconds is too long. So what I end up trying to do now is I'm going to send it to spot metering. Let's see here. Center weight's usually the best. Let's try center weight again, because I think I had it on the wrong setting. I want to focus on the most light I can, so that I have the most highest shutter speed possible. I'm on this old trusty Nikon D200. Okay, so I have 2 seconds. Still too long for me. A third of a second. It's still too slow for me. So I'm gonna bump up my ISO. 1,000. Now this is gonna come out pretty noisy, I think, but still, we're gonna try it. So like I said, I want to do the most light I can get out of this thing. I'm going to lower my f-stop again to f4. As I'm using the 28 to 80 lens, 3.3 f-stop is the lowest it will go, which is pretty light. Not too shabby for handheld. Now, when you're looking at this thing, it's like a dinosaur compared to what we have these days. Now, they have the Z cameras, of course, which, you know, I appreciate the old stuff. The old stuff really works and performs the way it should. Because a camera is a camera at the end of the day. As long as it gets you the picture and the quality that you want and that you're looking for. Sometimes the older tech, the older gear will give you a nice, it's like a softer look in a way. And sometimes that's better compared to some of the newer stuff. Not to say the newer stuff isn't nice, but sometimes the newer stuff actually can overperform, make things too sharp, and not give you that really nice texture or grain that you might be looking for. So that might be something that you could think about when you're using this camera. Oh, by the way, in a lot of these images that you're seeing, I'm not using a tripod. They're all handheld. So keep that in mind. You can take pictures with this camera handheld. Just have to have enough light. So I decided to stop, and it's because I saw this really cool photo opportunity. It's of a lifeguard tower that's in the mist, and it's got really cool lighting. I just thought I'd give it a try. You guys can hear the waves behind me. It is pitch black here at night. Let me see if we can show you anything at all. Yeah, you probably can't even see it, but there's waves out there. I think it's low tide right now. But I just wanted to try to get this photo and see if I can get anything, because it's really cool and misty out. There's so much fog, and it's just our marine layer that has rolled in. It's just really awesome. So I'm gonna try that and see what I can get a picture of. And you know, when you're out here with even this old camera, make sure you do bring a remote of some sort. This one does require a particular kind of remote. I'll post that in the description as well. If you guys haven't got one, or if you guys don't have one, I highly recommend that you get a remote for this camera. It's just something I think is needed because of it being such an old sensor. It does require slower speeds because the sensor, you know, if you're using a lower ISO. So let's get to this image and let's see if I can get what I'm trying to get with this camera. I think I can. I think it's very capable, so let's go for it. I just keep going back to this camera over and over just because of its quality that it gives you, just because of the way it produces an image and the way it does. It's just, it's neat, it's artistic, it's creative. I don't know what to say. It's just, there's a lot about this little camera, big camera actually, that makes it work. So it does use a compact flash system. I have a compact flash adapter with an SD card in it because, I don't know, all the compact flash cards I have are only 4 gigs, maybe even a gigabyte. So that's where I'm at right there on that. But I can and probably will get a compact flash eventually. The only difference is with this compact flash, I can use my 32 gig memory card. So that's, you know, with the compact flash adapter with the SD card in it. So that's a benefit for me, and it actually does perform pretty well. The timing is pretty quick, I would say. The buffer actually goes pretty quick as well. And I'm just using a micro SD card in this thing, which is probably not the greatest thing to do, but I'm doing it. So whatever, it works. What else can I say about this camera? It's just a fun camera to use. If you guys haven't tried one, I would recommend you try it at least once, see what it's like. You know, if you have a friend that has one, say, hey, can I borrow your camera? You know, let me see what that's all about, because this Chris guy seems to be thinking that it's a really good camera. I want to give it a try. You know, if you don't like it, I'm sorry. But if you do like it, hey, you'll see what I mean. It's just a different kind of camera. It really gives you different tones, different quality, has a little bit of grain to it, makes it fun and creative, and gives you that little spice that you want in your photography, I think. So, I don't know. I just have a passion for old cameras, and I really think this little classic gem, which, I don't know, for camera, for, you know, camera technology, it's a classic, you know. It's right around when Nikon started getting bigger and bigger. And when they finally decided, hey, let's go ahead and upgrade it from this to the Nikon D300, which is also a great camera. But then, you know, the Nikon D200 is just underrated. You know, I have it. I haven't used it much because I'm like, you know, it's different. But, you know, I'm trying to explore it. I'm trying to see more what it's about. And I'm trying to give it more credit because I really am seeing that, you know, grain isn't bad in your photography. It gives it more character. That's the word I was looking for. Character. Gosh darn, I was thinking that word. I couldn't spit it out. Character is big when it comes to photography. You want character in your photography. You want details. You want grain. You want fun stuff in there to make it look authentic and beautiful and real. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Let me go ahead and show you some photos of that. And, you know, That way you can get an idea what I'm talking about here, okay? Alright guys, so here is an image I'm going to be using in Adobe Photoshop. I'm basically going to show you how I edit the photo and how I get the results that I get on this video. And I'm just sharing this because I feel it's important for you guys to understand how Photoshop works. I'm going to also do it in Studio as well, so you guys can see how it works in the program, because NX Studio is free and it's something that all of you can download, and it's very functional. It's a very functional piece of software. It kind of works like Lightroom, but it is older, so it doesn't work as well. Photoshop does have a lot of new engines that work. You do pay a premium subscription. I am paying a $9.99 subscription right now for like 20 gigabytes, and that's perfectly fine with me. So if you guys want to do that option, you know, you can. They make it kind of hard to find, but it is there. So at least right now of the time of this recording. Can't say we'll be there later, so I'm just saying. Anyway, so NX Studio is a great program. Photoshop is what I use mostly for my photo editing, but I do like to pop into NX Studio to edit my raw photos every now and then and play around with it, because it does have a different engine than Photoshop. It's just different. But from all my recent edits, I've been using Adobe Photoshop, the raw feature, the camera raw feature. So, and you could use Lightroom. Lightroom is the same thing, kind of. It does have more features than Adobe Camera Raw, of course. But let's get into this. Let me show you what I do. That way, if you want to replicate the results, you can, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and open this photo in Photoshop first. And then you will see it pop up. All right, so my edits are pretty down the line here. I do want to straighten this photo, so I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. So go up here to crop, and I'm going to go ahead and rotate my image a little bit, just so I feel like it's definitely more lined up with horizon line. There's no horizon line, but I want to see it straighter. Okay, so that looks all right to me. Yep. Okay, so now I'm gonna just go down the line here, and I'm just gonna adjust my exposure or anything else, you know, contrast if I want more contrast in the image. And I'm doing this real quick, but you can kind of see what happens. Okay, so highlights are kind of what I want to minimize a little bit because it is a little blown out. But if you can see right here, this little area is what I have to worry about, because obviously that information is not there. So if I take it out too much, it's going to be flat and it's not going to know what to do. So just when you're doing nighttime photos or anything like this, just be careful with how much you adjust your filters. All right, so adjust the shadowing. Let me go ahead and zoom out a bit. Shadowing is where all your noise hangs out, so be careful with that. And then your whites, of course, you can play around with those, but like I said before, be careful how flat you make your brights. The blown out parts of it can absolutely be a color you don't want. And then blacks, of course. All right, so we're gonna get rid of the lights, and now we're going to color. I'm gonna add a little bit of vibrance, because vibrance will actually make it pop instead of have other problems. And then I'm gonna go ahead and do my clarity. I'm gonna add a little bit of clarity. And then my dehaze is nice, helps with the noise a little bit. And then of course a little bit of texture. Okay. So I get rid of that. And now my noise reduction is something that I love to use in Adobe Camera Raw. It is very it works very, very well in my opinion. You just have to watch out for how much you add. Okay. So here it is, open. As you can see, when I click on it, then you will see the noise that is currently there. And when I click off of it, the noise that currently goes away. Now, keep that in mind, it will make your image a little bit less sharp than it is now, which is a given when it comes to adding noise, or sorry, adding a denoiser to your image. It's just kind of a given. So if you want to minimize it a little bit to keep that sharpness, you can. Otherwise, I really do like this filter because it gets rid of the color noise, gets rid of the other kind of noise, but it keeps a nice fine grain, which is really what I want. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit enhance. As you can see, it's processing down here, and then I'm gonna see another image pop up. All right, and there's my original edit. So see if you guys can see the difference here. Okay, so here's my before and then my after. As you can see, it's definitely better. Okay, so it's more fine-tuned. It's not crazy, but it is totally adjustable. Okay, so that's about what I want for this image on Adobe Camera Raw. I'm gonna go ahead and open it. Okay. And then what I want to do now is I want to play with my levels. Just make sure I have everything in the right place. It's pretty good, you know, not bad. You just want to adjust your lighting a little bit if you're doing nighttime photography. That way it looks pretty good. And then another feature that I like to add are my LUTs. So this is a photo filter. A LUT is basically a filter that you put over your image to make it look a certain way. And honestly, I like my images to look kind of cinematic. That's just me. But when you do, you can actually make your images look pretty cool. And Adobe Photoshop has these set LUTs. You can download more, which I did for some of my pictures. They have a lot of free LUTs out there that you can download and use. But if you want to just go through it, you can see that it does make a really nice effect. And you can minimize this to a point, so it's not so crazy dramatic. And then you can play around with it, of course, in other LUTs on here, like so foggy night, you have film stock, fall colors. It just changes the overall look. And I like to play with this because I feel like it gives you an extended version of your editing. It's like it just helps. Now you don't have to have so much. You can diminish it. You can play around with it. You have your masks right here, so you can paint on what you want or don't want. And for me, I'm actually going to go ahead and crop this image a little bit further because I feel like I have too much of my sky and not enough of my foreground. So actually, I'm going to clear it out and I'm just going to pull it down a little bit. That way I feel like it works. Now it's going to be in a kind of ill proportioned image. This is for sure. But when I load it, that's what it looks like. And I really do like the effect of that. Now, if you want to, there's other things you could do. Like I personally love to add a little bit of a border around mine. And that kind of looks finished in that way. So I'm just going to load up my logo. There you go. See? And then you have like more of a finished touch. You can put your logo anywhere you want. If you are using a logo, I am just using it for social media purposes. All right, so that's my image. That's what I have for that. Now let's go ahead and load this image into NX Studio. So same image. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Okay. And we're going to go into this and let's go ahead and open it in NX Studio. All right, so here we are in NX Studio. And as you can see, you have more noise. For some reason, NX Studio kind of processes these images a bit differently than Photoshop. I think Photoshop might be smarter at figuring out what it's doing. I don't know exactly the right process of it, but I do know that it does do a different kind of processing. I could just see it happening. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play around with it just like I did my last image. As you can see, I did not have activity lighting on the camera because it is a Nikon D200. D200s don't have activity lighting. And then I'm going to adjust my brightness and color. Just be careful with this because this image, you know, your image with your Nikon D200 could be a little blown out. Like this right here, I don't like how that looks. So I'm actually going to go add some highlight protection in there just to, you know, cure those highlights a little bit. You know, I'm going to add a little bit of saturation and then see if I mess it up too much. That's what it will look like. So just be careful. It's just sometimes things can be a little bit too much. Okay, so I'm gonna get out of that. Gonna get out of this. Picture control, I kind of missed that. Sorry guys. This is where you have different color modes. You can play around with it. This is basically what the camera has installed in it in a way. You just, you know, you can play around with this, but I wouldn't mess too much unless you want like a black and white. You know, it just you know, it's just not needed so much. I can enhance it if I want to, but I don't see the point. You can adjust your hue there, so that's okay. Just be mindful of your edits. Okay, so now we're gonna go to levels and curves. As you can see, it's all pretty good. The lights are right here, so if I take away some light, that's what it'll look like, which might not be a bad idea to do that just a little bit. And then maybe bring this in smudge. Now, as you can see, it definitely doesn't work very well. So these are my darks and my gammas here too. But these, so you can adjust your gamma. But these are my darks, these are my lights over here. Midtones are in the middle. So that's not looking terrible. I don't mind it. So let's keep going on to the next step. Okay. Lightness and chroma. this you could definitely play with if you want. Just be mindful because if you do too many edits, it can look really funky. Okay. Then color, and then color booster. You can add more color to this. Just be careful with it. I like mine a little bit saturated. Give me more of that color that I want to make it more contrasty. And then we're going to go ahead and do the noise factor. Now, here's the thing. With this, I would definitely use the higher mode here. Yeah, the faster mode, but if you could see, it does make a difference when you're using the faster mode or even any mode here. But let me do better quality. And when you use better quality, it does bring out more noise, unfortunately. So you can play around with it. See, when I go to better quality, or there's two different better qualities. One's 2013, one's better quality. When I use better quality, you have less noise. So that's something you might want to think about and play around with too. But you can also adjust your intensity, you know, and see how that works for you. Like, I know that when I do better quality in 2013, it gives me more detail, which I don't mind. And then I can also raise up the intensity, which in turn will give me more of the look I'm looking for when I compare it to like Photoshop. But just keep in mind, you're getting rid of some sharpness. So you just want to play around these two sliders. I'd say better quality 2013 kind of gives you more options. And it doesn't look too bad. And then if you do edge noise reduction, let's see what happens. I don't like it. See how it gets all weird? Don't use that. Or at least not for this image. It doesn't work for me. Okay. Then we're going to go get our noise reduction. I can do a little bit of sharpness just to be safe. But keep in mind, you're going to be adding more noise into your image. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and do some touch up. I don't know if I want to do touch up actually, so you can go through that and not worry about it. Let's see here. I'm just going down the line. I just oh, if I want to straighten the image, I can, because it is a little off for me. So we're gonna play around with the straighten tool. And you can add a grid. It's right here. So you can see how straight something will be, or, you know, kind of get an idea. And just hit enter. I guess you don't need to hit enter. It just does it. All right, so there's that. And then I'm just gonna keep going down. And that's pretty much it. So you can kind of get an idea how the two work. Here is the edit from NX Studio. And I'm going back into Photoshop. Here is the edit from Photoshop. It's a bit different. It's definitely a little softer, but I feel that it works a little bit better compared. Yeah, because you have a little bit of a chromatic aberration, but it's still not terrible. same image. That definitely works. Okay, let's get back to the video. Alright guys, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of the conclusion of this video. Sorry, it is a longer video. If you have skipped ahead and gotten to this point, well, you missed some really good parts. Not gonna lie, you really did. There's some cool things that I show you in the editing and just how my style is. So if you want to rewind and go back to that, I highly encourage that you do. If you watch all the way through and got to this point, thank you. I appreciate that because it really helps me out a lot as a creator. And helps me be able to get my point across when I'm making a video like this. It's important to me that you guys watch it because I don't make this for nothing, and a lot of the content that I put in here can be pretty important to somebody, I hope anyway. So my conclusion about this is that the Nikon D200, here it is. If you have never seen it, this is the camera right here, Nikon D200. This is an older camera. It's a CCD sensor. It has a CCD sensor, so it is an older camera for sure. But anyway, from what I have seen while using this camera, it has pretty dang good dynamic range for a 10 megapixel sensor. I'm actually quite surprised how much dynamic range it does have for it being as old as it is. You gotta be careful not to get it into, you know, don't underexpose too much, because if you underexpose, I promise you, you probably won't be able to bring it back very much. It's 10 megapixels. It's not like a 64 megapixel camera or even 24 megapixel. So don't expect great, amazing things out of it. But being the camera that it is, this thing does pretty well in low light. So the majority of the time I was using about ISO 800. And I think a couple times I was using ISO 1000. Depends on, you know, the situation, of course. But overall, for being in ISO 800, I was able to clean up the noise a little bit, keep my sharpness, and have great dynamic range. Now, that being said, for this older camera, means that it does perform very well, even to this day. So that I was very happy about. If you've seen, if you guys did watch the portion where I edited my photo in Photoshop, you'll see that Photoshop actually has a really good noise canceling engine now. So you can just, you know, move your slider for how much noise you want, but it also keeps a pretty good amount of your sharpness. And actually, you know, it does pretty well. And I think it's because it uses AI now. So AI kind of fills in those little spots that you don't see and kind of replicates them, but it's pretty smart, I'm not gonna lie. So like I said before in this video, I'm not sponsored by Adobe, so don't think I like Adobe. I just use Adobe Photoshop because it has a lot of tools. That being said, I don't always like how Adobe works the best because of, you know, different reasons. I use Photoshop and I pay the $10 a month package, so that you also get Lightroom with that as well. It's like a 20 gig package deal. I'd say it's pretty dang good for what you get. You know, and you get online storage. You know, it's 20 gigs. It's not a lot, but it's something if you have to transfer a file somewhere to your cloud and somewhere else. So that's significant. But I would definitely say that the engine in that has gotten pretty amazing, just because of, you know, AI being so available now. Anyway, so it does really well in low light. It can be noisy, but fixed well, like I said. The overall, if you guys are using like a lens that I used, a 24mm 2.8 or even a 50mm 1.8 or something like that, if you're using a lens that has 2.8 or a very wide open aperture, this camera is going to perform very well. It's going to give you really nice sharp photos, and it's just the way it focuses, it does really well focusing for being an old camera. Its focusing system is pretty nice. And it does work with a wide variety of lenses, which is so nice. And it just, I think your best bet with this camera is to use a fixed lens. I think it just worked well with it. I use my 28 to 105 on it. It does pretty good too. But when you're using, say, a 28 to, oh, what is that lens I'm using? A 28 to 135? Is that what it is? No, 35 to 105. That's what it is. It doesn't do that great because it's okay. That's a manual focus lens. So when you're focusing manually, you just have to make sure you're looking in the viewfinder. That's the only difference. So AF lenses work great. Manual focus lenses, I would say you're better off using Nikon D7000. That's my perspective. Anyway, it does really well. It has great colors. The one thing I mentioned before is that with my particular model, it has a yellow cast. Not sure why. So I just bumped down the temperature to like 4200. I don't want anyone to do that unless you necessarily have to. But so for some reason, my camera has a really nice yellow cast in it. I don't care for it one bit. I think there's something wrong with the sensor, but it doesn't really portray the images that I get too much, which is nice. I have to use this camera more in daytime to really see the effect. So it just depends on the image. Anyway, it does pretty well with higher ISOs. The CCD sensor isn't too shabby. It's not too shabby at all. I have a Nikon D80 as well. I also have a Nikon D60. Don't really use those cameras very much anymore now that I have the bigger guys. My main camera is Nikon D7000, but I would say for being an older CCD sensor, it does perform pretty well. It's older than the Nikon D80. The Nikon D80 was supposed to be like a refreshed, more refined, smaller version of this. The only reason I don't like the D80 in that aspect is because it has a slower shutter speed. If that D80 had the shutter speed of this, it'd be just wonderful. Because that camera uses SD cards, and it's a nice little performer, don't get me wrong, but it's slow. That's the only downfall of the Nikon D80. It has great color, pretty amazing color, maybe even better than this. It's supposed to be the same sensor, so I don't get it, but somehow the pictures are processed differently. I think it's just the way I think it is a newer processor, to be honest. It's like an X-Speed 2 or something. I'll have to look, but it's just it's different. But overall, I am quite pleased by the way this performed that one night. I actually went out a couple nights to get some of these photos, and both nights they worked pretty well. So if you guys are looking to pick one up, I'll go ahead and post the link below in the description so you guys can find Nikon D200 if you guys are interested in trying it out. They're pretty cheap these days. I'd say they're about $100+ if anything. They're not very much money. And then you can find a cheap battery grip as well. Battery grip helps a lot with these cameras because for some reason they use a lot of juice. So keep that in mind. So make sure you have extra batteries on hand when you're using it. I don't know. For me, when I did long exposures, like I did the one long exposure on the beach that one night, I noticed that it ate my battery up so fast, and I was not happy with the way that was because I only brought one extra battery. I'm like, oh, great! Even with the battery grip, I used up battery so quick. So kind of keep that in mind. It could just be my camera in general, because like I said, I think mine has a problem, unfortunately, but doesn't definitely doesn't detour it from giving me good pictures. It's glitchy in my perspective. Anyway, guys, if you found this video informative, please make sure you hit that like button. Please subscribe to my channel, and please leave me some feedback. I really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, please leave those as well, or any suggestions for any videos you might want to see in the near future. We have a new year coming up pretty soon. I'm hoping to get more videos out before then, after then. I definitely, working hard. in every way of my life right now. So if I don't get back to you as soon as you would like, I'm sorry. I'm trying my best. Okay, so just bear with me. I will get back to you. I have a lot of messages to get back to, so just bear with me, guys. Anyway, I hope you're all doing well. And thank you for all you people, all my wonderful subscribers, my audience, for staying around, for watching my videos, for you guys being so supportive. There's so many out there. There's so many of you guys out there that are just so supportive and kind. I am just astounded. And because there are some mean people on this platform. I'm not gonna lie, I've gotten a few in the last couple days who I just like, okay, you're deleted. Sorry, but you know what? Your opinion was pretty nasty. I'm not gonna tolerate that. I don't want to tolerate bad comments on my channel because I don't want to bring negativity. I want everybody to be an awesome community and help each other. I don't want like, oh, you should have did this, or you should have did that, or you know, like I'll take constructive criticism. Yes, it's important. I will write that person back. But if you're telling me like, you know, you're a terrible person, you're a terrible photographer, you don't know what you're doing, and you know what? We're all learning. Photography, I mean, there's new technology that comes out every single year. And yeah, I will admit, I don't get everything right, okay? Sometimes I say things that I don't mean, and I will correct it by writing a comment in the description. I will fix it. And I know when I'm wrong, and if someone tells me I'm wrong and I look it up and I'm actually wrong, I will admit it. I'm not afraid to admit that I'm wrong. Anyway, guys, please like and subscribe. And if you want to support me, you can leave me a what do you want to call it? A gift. I think I have gifts now. Yeah, there's little ways to tip me if you want to. If you want to, you can. It helps me so much. Helps me be able to review the gear that you want me to, or anything like that. It just helps the channel overall just grow and build and be what I want it to be someday. I do this all for you because I care and I want to help people. That it was the whole reason I created this channel. But I really appreciate you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being my audience, and for every bit of feedback that I get is amazing. Thank you guys. Without you, this channel wouldn't exist. So thank you. I'll see you soon. Please take care. Bye.
If you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel to get notified when new videos get posted. Thank you for watching this video. Please consider checking out some of the other videos on the links at the end of this video.